Have you ever felt like the rules for communication, especially in relationships, have just completely changed? Like you're playing a game, but nobody gave you the new instruction manual? Well, you're not alone. We're going to dive into a really fascinating way to look at this whole shift, not as a breakdown, but as a total redesign. Let's explore this new blueprint together. And this question right here is really at the heart of it all. What does it mean when you see people in the dating world choosing peace over the supposed intention of actually connecting with someone? It seems confusing, right? But it might just be a sign of something much, much deeper than just giving up. And hey, does any of this sound familiar? I bet it does. These are those friction points, those moments where things just don't connect. You've got the feeling that demands are endless on one side, and on the other, you've got this sense that he's just checked out. He's not arguing anymore, he's just quiet. And of course, the classic argument that goes from 0 to 100, from a dirty pan in the sink to something that happened in your childhood in like 20 seconds flat. It feels like a battlefield, but what if we're looking at it all wrong? To really get this, we need a new lens. So let's introduce this idea of the architect. Now, this isn't a person. It's a way of seeing things. It's a perspective that steps back from all the drama and the blame game and instead starts looking at the underlying system. It's not about who's right or who's wrong anymore. It's about what's actually happening and why. So what is the architect, really? Well, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that treats every single interaction, every frustration, every misunderstanding, not as a personal failure, but just as data. It's observing the patterns without slapping a good or bad label on them. From this viewpoint, a guy who chooses not to argue isn't bad, and a woman who feels misunderstood isn't demanding. It's all just raw information, input for a brand new blueprint. So, if we're all going to be architects, what's our blueprint? Well, this whole framework is built on 3 really solid pillars. These are the pillars for designing a more resilient inner world. This is how you go from being just a piece on the chessboard to being the one who's designing the whole game. Okay, so the toolkit has 3 key components. First up, you've got the NLP foundation. That's all about rewiring your internal self-talk. Second, there's the interface, which is like your personal filter for reality. And third, the Coherent Nexus, your center of calm and alignment. Let's break these down one by one. First, let's talk about the NLP foundation. NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is basically the owner's manual for your own brain. It helps you understand that the language you use inside your own head, your thoughts, that inner voice, it literally creates your reality. So when someone chooses not to react, what they're doing is making the classic NLP move. They're shifting from being at the effect of someone else's drama to being at the cause of their own internal state. And the ultimate goal here? It's a total reframe of everything. That silence in the middle of an argument, it's no longer a sign of defeat or weakness. It becomes sovereignty. It's about having ultimate control over your own internal world, which, let's be honest, is the only thing you can really control. Now, for the second tool, the interface. The best way to think about this is like the operating system for your perception. It's this filter that sits between your inner world and the chaotic, messy outer world. It processes everything you see, hear, and feel. A lot of the time, the arguments and misunderstandings are really just glitches in the interface. And this is what mastering your interface looks like. You stop being a passive spectator, just watching the drama of your life unfold. Instead, you become the director. You get to consciously choose how you interpret things, instead of just automatically reacting to them. And the third and final piece of the puzzle is the Coherent Nexus. You know that feeling when you're completely in the zone? That's what this is. It's a state of flow, where your heart, your brain, your whole body, it's all in sync. This is your internal anchor, your calm center that you can tap into even when there's a hurricane raging around you. So here's the kicker. When someone realizes, hey, nothing I do is ever enough, and they stop complaining, they're not just giving up. They are, probably unconsciously, looking for coherence. They're done fighting against an external current they can't control. Instead, they're tuning into their own internal frequency of peace and just being present. Okay, so we have our 3 tools: NLP, the interface, and the Coherent Nexus. Now let's put it all together. Let's apply this blueprint back to those frustrations we started with. This is where it all starts to click. Just look at this breakdown. When someone chooses peace, the systemic insight is that they're just trying to preserve their own energy and sanity. So the architect's move? Build boundaries that actually protect that peace. When they stop complaining, they're not being passive, they're acknowledging reality for what it is. The action is to just observe the pattern without fighting it. And when they don't react, they are actively refusing to pour more fuel on a destructive fire. The action here is to create space for something new and better to happen. See, it's not passive at all. It's a deliberate design choice.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What we're seeing all around us isn't some catastrophic breakdown of communication. It's not the end of relationships. It's actually a quiet and often unconscious evolution. It's the big shift from seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances to becoming the architect of your own experience.
This is what's really happening. People are instinctively building their own internal foundations, that coherent nexus, because they figured out that the external world is totally uncontrollable. But their own perception, their own interface, that is something they can control. It's like an internal construction project for surviving and thriving in a chaotic world.
And that brings us right back to where we started. But now we see it totally differently. Silence, in this new design, isn't weakness. It's not a failure to communicate. It's actually the most powerful building material you have. It is the very foundation on which a resilient, self-directed life is built. So the architect's blueprint isn't just a cool theory to observe. It's a call to action, and that leads to one final, very personal question for you. When you look at your own life, your relationships, your reactions, what's the next step in your design?